Welcome back to the Green Beret Life. This is the SCIF. I am Matt. That is Stu. You can see we're both with you here tonight. Thank you for joining us. We are a 501c3. We serve the military, first responder community and their families. If you have any ideas on training, if you got a group of people together and you want us to come and train you, send us an email. Where do they get our email to, Stu?
They can probably find our email here on the bottom of the screen, greenberetlife@gmail.com.
So we have
Got it right this time.
Yep, we got it right this time. And we have a busy night tonight. And we want to say to some of our friends up north, you guys are dumped in between 11 and 24 inches of snow. Well, actually 48 inches in certain parts of Michigan, but I know Wisconsin. If I was in the Northern Command, I'd probably be under snow. Although I don't think we got it quite as bad up where we're at, but where Troy's at, I think they got some heavy duty snow up there. So hope you guys are doing okay up there after this horrible March snowstorm. And we're going to dig into some stuff tonight. Have a little bit of a disappointment from an individual tonight that I've talked about on this show quite a bit when he was running for Congress. And he was a guy that was at 5th Group when I was there. And overall, he's a very good guy. Very disappointed about what he did today. We're going to talk about that. Stu, what else do we have on tap?
Well, we've got that. We've got again this new Spanberger in Virginia that is just hitting all the right notes. And her take on honoring ICE detainers, on individuals that are molesting girls in school, just shit. Why? That's racist.
Yeah. Well, they have adults. They have adults in school. Adult illegal migrants in school, and the school districts, the Fairfax County school districts, are covering up for it. Isn't that the district where they arrested the father because the daughter was sexually assaulted in the bathroom by 2 adult illegal migrants, right? So there's a real.
This was, well, it might be, but the one I was thinking of was the one whose daughter was molested and or raped. I can't remember, by the transgender.
Oh,
and they arrested him for speaking out about it at the school board meeting.
I might be getting too confused with that one, but there's a real problem.
There's enough going around. You're probably not.
Yeah. We have a real problem with these school districts, and it turns out that the school district was trying to keep this under wraps. So they really care about the children there, right? So they're trying to keep it under wraps to protect an illegal that's an adult being shoved in a bunch of kids.
Well, this was a 19-year-old that was in the 11th grade and came in 2024 under Biden and was released
I think the school district basically said that they take students up to 24 years old. Is that correct? It's either 22 or 24. I mean, wow. This is like, you wouldn't believe it if it was written in a novel, right?
Yeah.
But this is what the left is taking care of. You know how you solve this, Stu? You pass some sort of legislation to allow the parents to sue the school district. Because that's how you solve the problem. This would clean up real quick. You start going after their money. So beyond that, what else do we have, Stu? I'm sorry I interrupted.
No, you're good. Another program in Minnesota that was so eaten up with corruption and fraud that the House and the Senate are voting to completely shut down and shutter the program. It is so eaten up with fraud right there under Tim Walz, who's by golly doing everything he can to fight fraud in Minnesota.
I thought the program you were going to say was the whole governorship and form of governance in the state of Minnesota.
That would be the best thing they could do. If they're really serious about stopping the fraud and the waste of taxpayer dollars, that would be the best thing they could do. Just stop it just turn the spigot off at the source.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things you were real hot on is the Senate is beginning their debate on the SAVE Act.
Yeah.
And, we've talked about this, and good old Alaska Republican Senator Murkowski and Tom Tillis.
Yeah, she's doing what McConnell spent all the money to make sure that she got reelected. She's doing what he intended her to do. Yes.
This is the payback.
Tom Tillis has been a disaster from day one. And
Yeah.
I'm getting real concerned with this whole John Cornyn thing too, because John Cornyn, despite him pushing for the SAVE Act and all the shit he's doing right now, has never worked for us, the American people and the people who got Donald Trump elected. In fact, he's worked against them. So I watched him on a show tonight where he basically said that Paxton was corrupt. And I almost, spit my tea out listening to this guy.
Paxton, one in Texas?
Yes, he was, because that's
Governor of Texas is corrupt.
Yeah, well, he's not the governor. He's the one that's running against Cornyn for the seat in the Senate. He's the attorney general. He's the one the Bush family went after. Remember? And So, and lost, by the way. So Paxton is a patriot. John Cornyn is a dirtbag, but he's a rhino. We talk about this all the time. But SAVE Act, Lisa Murkowski, she's doing the work for Mitch McConnell and the Democrats. So is John Thune, by the way. But what else do you guys do?
And the last thing is, and it's one of the things that I've seen it talked about a little bit, but there have been three terror attacks in the U.S. in the past 2 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
There was the one in New York, there was Old Dominion, and there was another one. I can't call it.
The other one was in Austin, Texas.
Yes. And we've got the Democrats that are still refusing to fund DHS. How are they not being crucified over this?
They're going on TV. The media is pushing propaganda for them. They're allowing them to go on there and basically lie and say, "Hey, we're volunteering to fund everything." Well, everything is funded except for TSA, border control, and ICE, right? And they're like, we're trying to be reasonable here, and it's a complete lie. It's all spin. It's all propaganda. They do not want what you voted for, and I voted for, and Stu voted for, and the majority of America voted for, getting these illegals out of our country. They do not want it because they need them for elections. And the SAVE Act is tied to this as well. So they're going to do whatever they can. They're going to pull whatever strings. The media is going to run whatever propaganda. They're going to allow them to get on there and lie. It is a mess. We need to demand that this SAVE Act not only gets called to, that it passes. Because believe me, these rhino senators want it gone. They want it gone because they're beholden to, I say it every week like a freaking broken record, they are beholden to special interest groups. And they're not beholden.
One of the things that they've been talking about is just with the SAVE Act, the thing they keep, running up the flagpole is women that are divorced can't vote because their birth certificate is they're saying, and again, I need to read into it. They're saying your driver's license isn't a proof of your ID. You have to have a passport.
Correct.
It's like,
passport or birth certificate is what they're trying to say, because they gave motor voter driver's licenses to all these illegals. The Democrats did that. Yeah. And that's for the purposes of them voting, right? For the purposes of them voting.
Well,
right?
That's what it was. It was the Democrats have fucked it all up. But whenever the Republicans come out and say, okay, because you've made this form of ID worthless as an identifier of citizenship, then because you've given it to all of the illegal aliens as well, there has to be something else in place because you did that. We're forced to do this other thing to be able to take and ensure the security.
It's simple. The SAVE Act, the only thing and here's what they're arguing over. The SAVE Act is that you have to show proof of residency, that you're a citizen of this country in order to vote. That's what it is. That's what it is. And getting rid of the ballots and the machines, right? So I don't know if it does much with the machines right now. I don't know what's in the bill as far as the machines are concerned, but they're trying to do away with these mail-in ballots because massive fraud was committed with the mail-in ballots. Massive fraud is committed with people that aren't supposed to be voting from another country.
I was watching something and they were going through these states, and I forget which state it was because I saw it about a week ago. There was one state that mails out ballots to everyone.
Mm-hmm. And they don't clean up their voter rolls, Stu.
Right.
They don't clean up their votes, so they're sending shitloads of ballots out. A bunch of these states sent way more ballots out than there are registered voters, some even citizens in specific counties, right?
Yeah.
So now you have all of these extra ballots out there.
How do you ensure accuracy when it's mail in? How do you ensure the accuracy?
You can't. That's the whole point. It's
and again, it's not a bug, it's a feature.
Yeah. And the other thing is these states must clean up their voter rolls to make sure illegals and everybody else is off them, which they are fighting tooth and nail. All blue states, by the way, fighting cleaning up their voter rolls. So the Democrats know that if they don't have massive fraud, they can't win. And Republicans don't give a shit because they're beholden to special interests that want illegals here taking your jobs, taking your taxpayer money, and living off of it, period. So massive changes need to happen. We need to get rid of these shitbag rhinos. I don't think corporations should be allowed to be anywhere near politics in any way, shape, or form, period.
Yeah, as if they don't have enough influence with their lobbyists. Now they can donate directly to campaigns and everything.
They need to get rid of lobbyists.
Citizens United, was that the one that gave corporations the ability to donate to
some? But they lobbyists need to go too. And this also means unions and special interests like that as well. No business being anywhere near politics, period. They don't. Yeah. Business, unions, nothing. The only people who have any say in politics should be the citizens that are being served by the individual they're electing. Period. Amen. End of story. Nothing else.
And if you have a job in the federal government, and granted it can't be, the federal government as a whole, but if you have a job in certain positions of the federal government, you should not be able to work as a lobbyist for a minimum of 10 years.
Yeah. Well, that shouldn't even be a problem at all, Stu, because we shouldn't have lobbyists. Period.
Yeah, well,
we shouldn't have them. It's a position to corrupt our politics. We can't have
proven to work.
Yeah. So people, we really need to put pressure on our politicians to do the right thing. We do have politicians that want to do the right thing, but you also have to highlight. You can't look at guys like Chuck Grassley and Cotton and Thune and all these guys that'll get up and say the right things and you're going to think, oh, wow, they're a patriot. They're America first. They're really speaking for me. They're putting on an act for you. That's what they're doing, because when it really matters in the background, like pushing Trump's nominees through, whether it's helping get this SABAC pushed across the finish line, they are being deferent to the Democrats. They are concerned about the Democrats, and Democrats are out there saying one of the first things they'll do, not in this position right now because they're fighting this, is they are going to use the filibuster, period. And Thune is reluctant to do any of this. Why? Because he's getting pressure, in my opinion, from special interest groups who want the illegals here in the first place. They don't want the pushback on illegals. And that's what the government is being shut down for right now, as far as, part of TSA and Homeland Security. That's what it's all about, keeping illegals in this country when the vast majority of American people voted to get these illegals the hell out of our country. Period. Amen. You come in the right way or you don't come in at all, period.
Here's what I want. We're talking about lobbyists, Matt. And I was trying to find the study. There was a study that said bills favored by lobbyists and economic elites have an 80 to 90% chance of passing, while those with high public support have less than a 30% chance, suggesting a near zero impact of average citizens on policy. While 80% of laws are supported by the public, they only pass if special interests do not oppose them.
That's a
That
great
can tell you
statistic.
all you need to know.
What we should do is scroll across the bottom of our screen, Stu, if we can do that, that 80% of special interests get their bills passed, right? Less than 30% of public interest get their bills passed, period. You know?
Yep.
So, yeah, it's, we're sort of sounding like a broken record with this, but it's sounding like a broken record on purpose. What were we going to say, Steve?
No, sometimes we do sound like a broken record, but
Well, I'm gonna jump into the Joe Kent things.
Yep, go for it.
A little bit. You've heard me talk about Joe Kent on this show multiple times. He's a good guy. He was in fifth Special Forces group with me. Very good guy. Joe's wife and another friend of mine named John Farmer, who I went through the Q course with and went to fifth group with, were killed in Syria. And since then, Joe has gotten out. I think he did some contract work for a while with one of the agencies. Right. And then he ran for Congress in his home state of Washington State. And some monkey business, it was the first time he ran, there was some monkey business recounting. And it looked like he had won. And next thing you know, he didn't win. And I had talked about Joe Kent on here.
Yep.
I had personally donated money to Joe Kent. I had pushed for you guys to support Joe Kent, and I don't regret any of that. Okay. Joe Kent ran again last time, and the same monkey business happened, right? Obviously, we can't prove anything, but he lost during recounts, it seemed, over and over and over and over again. The same candidate, this Heidi Glusenkamp or whatever her name was out there. And Trump put him into a very good job after that second loss. And he was one of the counterterrorism directors, right?
Mm-hmm. And yeah, he was the director of the National Counterterrorism Center.
Yeah, under Tulsi Gabbard, very good job, right? He's very qualified to do that, and I want to say he's a good guy. But what I heard today really pissed me off. Okay, he sounds like what's happened with Tucker Carlson, because he basically put out a statement today and resigned. And here's what he did: the individual who put him, Donald Trump, in that position, because he knew his background, knew he's a good guy, saw what happened with the elections out there, and rewarded him with a very high position where he could do some good, right?
Yeah.
With his background. And what he did today is he said, all my conscience, I can't support this administration on the Iran war. And he basically said in there, I'm paraphrasing, that Iran, in his opinion, wasn't a threat. I can't believe he said this. So now the media has picked up on this, and he resigned today. The media has picked up on this.
Well, right? He also said, Matt, he said the war was started due to pressure from Israel and its powerful American lobby.
Basically saying that we're under control of Israel, basically parroting Tucker Carlson is what he's doing. Okay. And he should know better. He should absolutely know better.
Well, he did 2 years ago, Matt.
Yeah. Let's talk about what he said 2 years ago, Stu. Let's talk about this.
Here we go. Let's see. He said in 2020, okay, a few more than 2 years ago, Trump's restraint shows he wants to deal with Iran, and his red line is American loss of life and IR nuke development. Our fundamental vulnerability remains troops striking in range of IR weapons and proxies with no vital U.S. mission. I personally think we should have crushed their ballistic and nuke capabilities, but Trump, this is from what he was basically kind of criticizing. Trump didn't go far enough the last time. Mm-hmm. You know, we should have crushed their ballistic and nuclear capabilities, but Trump has a plan. He has definitely earned the confidence of any clear-eyed observer. Iran's goal in orchestrating October 7th was to break up the Abraham Accords. Trump used a balance of diplomacy and economic pressure. Israel's dismantling of Hezbollah would have been much more challenging, if not impossible, had Trump not taken Iran's mastermind, Soleimani. So again, up to a year ago, he was supporting what Trump was doing and being tough on Iran. They can't be allowed to do certain things. But then when the rubber meets the road, it's, oh, well, heavens to Betsy. This is not what I was talking about.
Yeah. And anybody that would say that Iran was not a threat to the United States has no business.
You mean Iran, the same world sponsor of terrorism? The number one exporter of terrorism on the planet, not Iran?
World sponsor of terrorism. Not only that, they used fear to drive up prices because they controlled the Straits of Hormuz. Not anymore, right? They were hell-bent on developing a nuclear weapon and were extremely close to developing that nuclear weapon. They were hell-bent on developing intercontinental ballistic missiles. Had they gotten those things developed and put them both together, the whole world would have been in danger. The whole world was already in danger because of their sponsor of terrorism. But the whole world would have been in grave danger, and there would have been very little anybody could have done about it. So when somebody goes off and says, now Joe knows better, he's obviously said this, and apparently there was some concerns about him leaking before this, about him leaking to the press. Now, I can't confirm that, but it's been mentioned multiple times. But how anybody with even a little bit of knowledge of the Middle East, and Joe has a lot of knowledge of the Middle East, okay, how anybody could say Iran was not a threat, and then to go and say Donald Trump is controlled by Israel. That is such, it's beyond belief that these words came out of his mouth. It is beyond belief. And I'm so disappointed. It's not like I knew Joe well or anything. Okay. But I know that he was a good guy, and I know, his background. And I'm just very, very disappointed. It's funny, Stu. In SF, you have a lot of this intellectual elitism. Okay, you get a lot of it in SF, and it's usually on the officer side. Okay,
right,
and it's kind of like the quasi-intellectualism that you see really rampant in rhino Republican senators, to be honest with you. Very similar. They have their own special interests. These guys act sort of the same way. Okay. Whereas usually the boots on the ground in SF know exactly what's going on. That's more of the blue collar logic. That's where you're really going to get the story of what's happening, because these guys are on the ground dealing with it. Joe was one of the guys on the ground dealing with people. He was not an officer, right?
Yeah.
Now all of a sudden he sounds like an officer. And I don't know what's happened here. I really don't. So very disappointed in this whole thing. And now we have two of these guys. You had Waltz, and now you've got Joe Kent. I think it's making SF look terrible. Trump wants to support military guys. He wants to support military special operations guys. His administration is full of them. And now we have two SF guys that have let him down when he helped them.
Yeah,
and then
put them in the position, like you said, to use their understanding and their training and their specialty to do good.
Yeah,
and
I'm so disappointed. I am so disappointed with all of this. And then I've talked to a few buddies of mine, and some of them are agreeing with it. I mean, I'm like, this is why it's pervasive. It is that intellectual elitism is pervasive in SF. It is, and there's no way of getting around it. And the problem is, people think that they know more than what they do, right?
Right.
And I have a real problem with it. At the end of the day, okay, we've spent time over there. Okay. Some of that time was a long time ago at this stage, right? To be honest with you, things change rapidly.
It has been a long ass time, hasn't it?
Yes,
Good
it
Lord.
has. It has. If you're not getting the briefings on what's going on a day-to-day basis, and you're not current on those or anything else, you don't know the full story. But you know enough to know that Iran, in their 50-year history, is an absolute danger to the world. And now we have our NATO countries that aren't lifting a finger to try to help. I think this is a setup, by the way. I'm leading into something else here.
That's funny, Matt. I've got that right here.
There we go. Yes.
And this is one thing, because Trump went to NATO and says, "Hey, can you send some ships to help, basically reopen the Strait of Hormuz so that traffic can flow, oil can flow, goods can flow, because just realistically, the U.S. can't patrol the entire strait and the entire Gulf, everything."
We probably can get that job done, Stu. But I think what Trump is doing is setting NATO up. I really do. I think he's setting them,
very true.
Because we have paid over the years. We've funded NATO. Period. Amen. We have funded them. Nations have sat back and not even paid their 2% for years on years on years, while the United States defended anybody. If anybody else was attacked, the United States would have been right there. Right?
Yeah.
Now, this is a matter that concerns the whole world. It concerns the whole world. Iran was driving up oil prices for the whole world, and as soon as they got that technology of nuclear power and intercontinental ballistic missiles, the whole world, Europe and everybody, would have been in danger. Not one of them are lifting a finger, and here's why. Here's why I think this is: because they're so entrenched in the deep state. Donald Trump has taken it to them so bad in NATO. Now that they're all paying 5% in NATO, right?
Yep.
He's taking it to them on tariffs, where they want Trump gone, and they will use any means necessary to try to create a bad situation or a quagmire over there in order to get Trump run out of office. And they know they have their allies here in the media and the deep state here that also want Trump, that are not America First people. They want him out of office, and this is what they're doing. I think Trump's getting ready to dump NATO. I think he's getting ready to dump NATO, and they can defend themselves. Period. Amen. We don't need to be over there if they're not going to step up when we need them. We have funded that organization, that rotten organization that has caused more trouble than it's helped. And I say we pull the plug now, and then we find the countries that'll work with us, and though we form a new alliance. And it's probably going to be Eastern European countries and a few Western European countries like Italy and maybe somebody else. Period.
I had seen one of the articles, and I forget which European country it was, like, this isn't Europe's fight. Okay, well, you know what? The Ukraine isn't the United States fight either. So Here, you guys handle that. Deal with it on your own. It's in your backyard. Doesn't affect us. Go for it.
We've put more money than Europe has by far into Ukraine. The whole thing is stupid. It's freaking stupid. And I bet you he's setting NATO up, and I bet you're going to see China and or Russia join in to help keep, because they need it. China does more than anybody. They need the oil flowing, right? And anybody criticizing Trump and what he's done, Venezuela is now turning into an ally, right? We've gotten rid of Maduro, right? Iran's power is completely gone. And guess what? 90 miles off the coast of Florida, Cuba is collapsing before our very eyes. The power has been turned off, and people are now attacking government buildings.
Yep, because they've not been getting the subsidized or the cheap oil from Venezuela.
Correct. So anybody that says, oh, Trump has been talking about this stuff since the 80s. So anybody that says Trump doesn't know what's going on, a buddy of mine told me that today. And I'm like, are you on the same planet? Trump has been talking about Carg Island, the whole 9 yards, going all the way back to the 1980s, how to deal with Iran, saying China was going to be the upcoming threat. This was in the 80s, where nobody thought China's economy was smaller than the state of Texas's, right?
Yeah,
Trump
but then the
foresaw
U.S.
all of
decided, hey, we're going to offshore everything for no good goddamn reason.
it. Yeah. And this is so Europe is destroyed. And I watched I watched this press conference that he had with the prime minister from Ireland today. Anytime Trump made a comment, anytime Trump made a comment about Keir Starmer or Europe giving themselves away with mass migration, right? And really screwing up their oil because they have. Trump clearly said the North Sea is full of oil. Britain has rights to the North Sea. They buy their oil from Norway, which gets the oil out of the North Sea on their side instead of Britain getting their own oil. Trump pointed that out, and how much they've invested in Chinese-built wind farms that are proven ineffective and bad for the environment, right?
Yeah.
So every time he would mention Starmer or any of this immigration stuff, you could see this guy squirming, and then he would interrupt and talk about, well, he's a good guy, and we are very responsible in how we bring immigration in. Of course, we don't want illegal immigration. Well, of course, you brought it all in your country legally. That's right. You've overwhelmed your population with the third world, and now they're victimizing your population. And if your population bitches about it, you arrest them.
Yeah, it's not illegal immigration when you just open your gates and say, yes, come in. And the Facebook, they've got, I saw a video. There was somebody had criticized something on Facebook. They had 6 armed police officers at the airport to arrest them for a Facebook post. Meanwhile, the raping and pillaging of the country, no, we're not worried about that. But by golly, don't say spicy words on the internet. Don't offend somebody on the internet.
In England, underage girls being gang raped by Pakistani grooming gangs, which have been shoved completely under. And if you talked about it, you get in trouble.
Yes. Asian.
Yes.
Grooming gangs. Asian gangs.
Yeah. They want you to think it's when they say Asian, because technically Middle Eastern is Asian, right?
Exactly.
So the whole thing is a joke. It's an absolute joke. Europe is lost, right? I think Germany's the one who said, this is not our war. I think they're the ones that did that. And we should be like, cool, this isn't your, NATO is not our organization. We don't want to partake in NATO anymore. You guys can have your own little club. We want our money back, by the way. Oh, we'll take it out in tariffs. How about that? So, but the Supreme Court jumped in. We can't do that anymore because we got to follow some obscure 1972 congressional law, according to the deep state strikes again, right?
Always.
There's ways Trump will find around.
The Senate and the House don't want to do a damn thing to be accountable for anything in the past 30 years, but by golly, they'll dig up some musty, moldy, whatever, and twist it and turn it to make, we had to see this subparagraph footnote here that we passed in 1932.
It's complete bullshit. Everybody sees through it. If this SAVE Act does not pass, recalls need to happen. The absolute pandemonium needs to happen. These rhinos have got to go.
These are the same elected representatives that when Trump said at the State of the Union, if you agree that United States citizens deserve your support and I forget the exact phrasing of it, but deserve your support and protection over illegal aliens, please stand up. The Democrats would not stand. They're telling you don't fucking matter, and people will continue to vote for them.
But the problem is with the SAVE Act, it's Republicans. They were all standing up and cheering, putting on the little act that they really give a shit. It's these Republicans, especially in the Senate right now, because the House passed it. What you will about Mike Johnson, he's getting the job done. Okay?
Yeah.
The Senate is the problem. John Thune is a problem. We knew that from the very beginning. We knew the way Mitch McConnell had the Senate set up with these rhinos, right? They're the ones who got all the money during the campaigns, right? We do not have people that are standing up for Republicans, for Trump's agenda, for what we the people voted for. We do not have enough senators standing up. Do not let them get on Fox News and talk about something else. And, oh, I really agree with what he's saying there. It is an act. If they can't get Trump's nominees pushed through, and if they can't get the SAVE Act passed, they're working all of us. They're working all of us. And I'm telling you right now, they're working us. They're feeling a lot of pressure. So keep it up with the SAVE Act. But we cannot let them get away with this. If they do not pass that, with almost 80% popular support in the country, Republicans and Democrats, between 71 and 80%, it's one of the most popular pieces of legislation ever. Okay? If this can't get pushed through in the Republican Party that we gave both houses and the presidency to, we can't push this through. There needs to be a coming to Jesus over this. And we say it all the time, but these rhinos have got to go. They've got to go.
Well, it's the thing of, it's as the voter, as the constituent, you are really in a damned if you do and damned if you don't situation. Because if you don't vote to put a Republican in office, you're going to get a Democrat. But when you do vote to put a Republican in Congress, they are unwilling to exercise the power that you're investing in them. And you don't really get anyone that's fighting for you. The best you're getting is someone that is not actively fighting against you.
Yeah.
That's what winds up, because if the Republicans aren't going to take the power that we're investing in them and fight for us, you're fighting a losing battle, because if you're not going to make gains on the field when you have the ball, if you're just going to sit there and do the hike the ball and the quarterback is going to kneel down every time, you're going to lose. You
Correct.
will lose the game. And that's exactly what Republicans are doing. They refuse to fight for any yardage, for anything. So
they're fighting, Stu. They're fighting for special interests. They're fighting for big pharma. They're fighting for big agriculture. When I say big agriculture, Tyson Foods, right? And companies like that, not the small farmer, right? They're fighting for big corporations that want to make their shit in China, so they have to bypass American labor, right? They're fighting for people that want to import foreign labor to take U.S. labor place, because they can pay them cheaper, right? That's who they're fighting for. They're not fighting for you, the American citizen. They're not fighting for our culture. They're not fighting for our sovereignty. They're not fighting for our financial well-ability, our financial well-being. They're not fighting for anything that is to the benefit of this country and the future of this country. So we need to send a loud message: pass this, or there's going to be hell to pay as far as primaries and everything else coming up. Recalls, we have to use everything in our power. Primaries, recalls, everything. We've got to elect new people to get them in there and get these old, antiquated, establishment pieces of shit rhinos out of the Senate, period.
Well, I want to ask you about this headline here. This is an article from 2015. Hillary Clinton says she will not hesitate to take military action if Iran attempts to get a nuclear weapon.
Yeah. More talk. They'll say whatever they need to say in the time to try to get the right soundbite to make you think that they're on our side. And
until it's time for the rubber to meet the road, and then they are nowhere to be seen. When Trump is literally doing because it was also Hillary Clinton and all them talking about, we need to build a wall, we need to control immigration. As soon as Trump does it, oh my God, he's neo-Hitler. Yeah. Iran, we can't deal with Iran. Trump does something, oh my God, he's a warmonger. And this is Hillary with we came, we saw, he died. And the whole with Benghazi. What difference at this point does it make that she was responsible for, all of those deaths? But Trump is the bad guy. Trump is the villain. It's beyond disgusting and disturbing.
Yeah, the whole thing with these people, like I said, they'll say anything at the time that is politically expedient for them, right?
Yes.
And I don't want to. We've got some good congressmen and we've got some good senators. Okay, we do. They're fighting. Okay, but unfortunately, they're outnumbered by the rhinos that are beholden to special interests, or to be honest, have lied to you, and they are more left leaning than they'll ever let you believe. Right?
Yeah.
So most of it has to do with who they're beholden to and the special interest group that they're beholden to. So whether it's defense industry, any of it, right? This is why you've got to take it out. And then you have to have term limits, right? You don't make it an automatic. You become a multimillionaire when you get to Congress or you get to the Senate and you stay there. So yeah, Hillary Clinton, the other thing about her, which is funny, that she would do anything with our, we can't even determine what happened with uranium one under her watch, right? Yeah. And where that uranium actually went, selling off 20% of our stockpile of uranium to the Russians, apparently, right? I don't believe any of that. That went somewhere, right? So, we were flying cash to the Iranians, right? Under the Obama administration. Yeah. I wonder, just putting it out there, just put two and two together, if that could be a possibility. We don't know, of course. We don't know any of it. But I wouldn't be surprised by anything at this stage. Would you, Stu?
Yeah. Freedom said we could solve a lot of issues if mainstream media just went away. People need real journalism. And that's true. The journalists now, there is no more of the investigative journalism. There is no. When was the last time? And again, we'll go this way. When was the last time you saw the mainstream media hold a Democrat accountable for something?
Never. The only time they'll hold a Democrat is when they've all agreed that there's somebody they're going to get rid of, because, like, Menendez was the last one. They defended him through all of the underage prostitution shit in the Dominican Republic, all of the other bullshit. And they got him on this gold thing at the end, which sounded a little bit fishy, to be honest with you.
But they wanted him to end on that as well. I mean, it was literally in his suit jacket pockets, hanging in his closet.
Yeah. Well, think about this. Think about this. They knew that there was a high likelihood that Trump was going to get elected, right? They knew there was a high likelihood, right? We knew something was up with these Epstein files. There's no way they were going to let the Trump administration get their hands on whatever they had for the last 4 years, right? Do the math there and then come up with a new conspiracy theory, and then tell me if that doesn't make a little bit of sense with all of this. Why they were so eager to get rid of Menendez. Because if there was somebody that was on that plane down there, I bet you he would have been up to his eyes in it. I bet you he would have, right? So this whole thing's a mess. Everything you look at, you can't believe. You know that the media is lying to you. Even when you watch Fox News only brings on rhinos. They only bring on rhinos. They very rarely, they have some good hosts on Fox News, no doubt, but they too often bring on the John Cornyn's, the John Thunes, these are the people that they go to. Right. And we got a real problem. We got a real problem with the media in this country. Fox News obviously is nowhere near to the level of ABC, CBS, NBC, MSNBC, CNN, whatever MSNBC is called today. Now, CNN apparently was just taken over by the Ellisons, right? So hopefully there's going to be some big changes coming there. Hopefully. But we've got a real problem with the media in our country. And isn't it a conflict of interest if you are a journalist who has the power of broadcast, and you're supposed to be fair and balanced, okay, when you're not presented as, hey, this is who I am, and this is like a show like a Sean Hannity, where Sean Hannity stands, right? Or something along those lines. If you are supposed to be a fair and unbiased journalist, why are you allowed to make political contributions, right? And when you see that 99% of journalists their political contributions all go to the Democrat Party. Doesn't that tell you there's a conflict of interest and a problem?
Yeah.
Doesn't that tell you
Absolutely.
that? So, yeah, we've got a real problem with the media in this country. And how we're going to deal with it, I'm not quite sure. We have a constitution we have to abide by, right? But you also can't allow people to intentionally disseminate. Like the BBC was putting out apparently AI videos of Trump that never occurred, right?
Yeah.
Did you hear about this? Yeah. So
Yep.
I don't know the full story on it, so I shouldn't really even talk about it.
Well,
but
what they were doing is they took a speech that Trump, I think it was the January 6th. They took his speech and they ran it up to a point, then they edited out a whole nother portion of it and then spliced, like just cut the chunk out and spliced it to where it made it sound like he was saying something he did not say. And they ran it
they need
as
to be run
if it were.
Yeah. They need to be sued out into oblivion. So you're looking it up right now. Do we have any more comments we need to get to?
Not at the moment. Here we go. Hold on just a second. All right, let me see. Hold on a second. I gotta fix something here.
Okay.
Because I suck at my job. Let's see. This is this with edit.
Hello, good evening. Tim Davie has tonight resigned as Director General of the BBC, along with the CEO of BBC News, Deborah Turner.
Yep, I hear it. Perfect.
Criticism of BBC News coverage and allegations of editorial mistakes.
We're going to walk down to the Capitol, and I'll be there with you. And we fight. We fight like hell. And if you don't fight like hell, you're not going to have a country anymore. Now it is up to Congress to confront this egregious assault on our democracy. And after this, we're going to walk down, and I'll be there with you. We're going to walk down. We're going to walk down anyone you want, but I think right here, we're going to walk down to the Capitol, and we're going to cheer on our brave senators and congressmen and women. And we're probably not going to be cheering so much for some of them. But I said, something's wrong here. Something's really wrong. Can't have happened. And we fight. We fight like hell. And if you don't fight like hell, you're not going to have a country
You saw the time
anymore.
jump up here in the top
Our
corner.
exciting adventures and boldest endeavors have not yet begun.
What happened here today was an insurrection incited by the...
So that was what the BBC did. Literally took the 55 minutes apart and mushed it together to make it seem as if it were what he was doing. Like Freedom says, yeah, mainstream. And this is BBC. What's the BBC funded by?
The
government.
British government. The British government.
The British government.
BBC. Yeah. Yeah. This is, well, isn't it funny that we talked about Lloyd's of London last week, basically refusing insurance. And then when Trump said the U.S. will provide insurance for carriers going through the Strait of Hormuz, Lloyd's of London then came back and said, if you take the American insurance and you come back to us, we will punish you severely. So that tells you what was going on.
Yeah.
This is the deep state European Union trying to meddle. Yeah, they're the ones trying to keep the war in Ukraine and Russia going. And they've been successful, right? And they're the ones here that want to elongate this to cause as much damage to Trump as they possibly can, because they want to continue taking advantage of you and me as the taxpayer. And we need to break the European Union, period. Amen. It's a horrible organization for the members,
Yeah.
You know, something happened in Italy. You know, there was some cleric that was just a complete disaster in Italy. They kicked him out of Italy. Well, it looked like he was going to get sent back to Egypt. And if he got sent back to Egypt, they were going to put him to death there. So the European Union says, nope, Italy, you got to take him back. Here you go. Boom. And the guy's walking around free as a jaybird. And from what I understand, and they can't do a damn thing about it because they get overruled by the European Union. How can you survive in that? You can't. So, but the coverage over there, I'm telling you, the coverage over there of this war especially is like, you think our media is bad. It is over there. They're focusing on that school that got hit.
Right.
They are focusing. I didn't even know much about that, to be honest with you. And I don't know the full story of it. Apparently there was some bad intel and a school did get hit and some children and some teachers were killed. Well, quite a few, like 65 to 65. It was like 165 students and I think 15 teachers or something along those lines, right? Everybody knows the United States does not target civilians, right? And anything that happens in the Middle East is suspect as far as I'm concerned, okay?
Yeah. Well, this is also the same area where they would intentionally hide, stores of arms and put, rocket batteries on schools and hospitals and everything else as well.
Common with these third world shitbags that we're often in conflict with in the Middle East. So that's super common. They would fire at U.S. forces from inside a crowd of people, hoping that the U.S. forces would fire back and kill civilians. They would do this all the time overseas, all the time.
Yep.
Right. Launch attacks from mosques, knowing that we're not going to attack a mosque. Right. All of this. And so I'm not saying that that's what happened here. I don't know. Okay. And I'm very, very upset that innocent people were killed. Right. And we need to get to the bottom of it. But over in Europe, the coverage, though, is, they were taking Iran's original words saying that, the Ayatollah wasn't killed, right? Initially. So, that's what they're being fed over there. So you kind of can't blame the people, especially if they think that they're getting true news and it's radical leftist propaganda. But the deep state is strong, and it is strong over there. And that's what we're up against. We need to support our president as much as we possibly can. We cannot allow these forces just think of what he's up against, Stu. Think of what he's up against. We're not a united front here in this country. We have people on the left actively cheering for Iran in this country. We have, I saw an interview with Caitlin Bennett talking to this gay woman in Tampa, Florida. And she thinks that she would get along she thinks she's persecuted here, but that she would get along much better in these Islamic countries.
Yep.
And she has no clue
in the world
what they would do to her in those countries.
No clue of the world.
It is insane. It is absolutely insane. But we have young people that believe this shit here in the United States. And then in our government, you have congressmen and senators rooting against it. They want us to lose because it looks bad on Trump and it gets them back into power.
And that's it.
And they're
they
do not.
And you nailed it. If it were the video, the news article I just pulled up, if it were Hillary Clinton doing, it would have been, she's been the strongest one. It took a strong woman to do something that the feckless male presidents have refused to do for the past 50 years. It took a strong woman to do it. They would be freaking blowing smoke so far up her ass, you'd think they elected a new fucking pope.
If you want to see a Clinton victory, okay, look at the Clinton Global Initiative and their work they did in Haiti. right? Look at that. Somehow the Clintons went from being broke when they left the White House to worth hundreds of, the Obamas too, by the way, being worth hundreds of millions of dollars, or whatever they're worth, right? Over $100 million. They had this global initiative, right? And they spent all of this time in Haiti. Is Haiti better off since the Clinton Global Initiative brought all of that worldwide attention to Haiti?
Well, they were also bringing in all that money to the Clinton Global Foundation until all of a sudden, Hillary didn't get elected and the money dried up and went away.
Oh, where did that money go?
Why? It wouldn't have been somebody buying access, would it?
No,
that never happens.
And was that money really used in Haiti? I have a sneaky suspicion. Very
and
little.
Then Chelsea Clinton had a probably a multi-million-dollar job as the chairperson, who's just like, wait, what, really?
And then she went to work for a hedge fund, I believe, and then NBC paid her all this money, right? Yeah. They're also paying Jenna Bush, by the way, who's another disaster, right? So it's funny how the system works. It's like George Carlin said, it's a big club and you ain't in it.
You ain't in it.
The problem is we have the power to change it. And we need to start with these rhinos. We need to start with these rhinos. The SAVE Act had better pass. There's no other option. Period. Amen. Yeah. There is no option. So we need to make sure we're calling our senators and we're letting them know you better pass this, or this is something you will not survive through your next election. When I say not survive, I'm talking about politically, by the way, in case anybody's getting any stupid ideas. We need to primary them. And we need to recall them where we can, but we cannot be reelecting these people. And period, amen. We cannot have John Thunes anymore. We cannot have John Cornyn's anymore. We cannot have Chuck Grassley's anymore. It's time for Chuck Grassley to go back to the farm. Okay, we cannot have Cotton. I mean, this guy was a soldier. We can't. He needs to go. There's so many that need to go, dude. It's not even funny. We have a handful of good ones. I think Josh Hawley's a good one. I think Ted Cruz, even though he pisses me off every once in a while, is a good one. Mike Lee is a good one. I think Rand Paul, even though he pisses me off, is a good one, right? And I think I think I said Josh Hawley already, but we have some good ones. But Marsha Blackburn's a good one, right? But we've got some real shit bags, folks. We've got some real shit bags, and you know who they are. You know who they are. They'll say the right thing. You'll think they're on our side, but they're not. They better pass this SAVE Act is all I can say. They better pass this SAVE Act, or they are not going to get elected as a senator again. Period. Amen. That's the way it is. They get replaced by somebody who will do the will of the people. And then we need to pass some legislation getting big money and getting business and getting unions and any special interest group out of our politics. Period. Amen.
Yeah, I was just looking here. I was trying to find, and of course, it's going to be obfuscated. They're not going to make it easy to find. I was trying to find how many senators were over 70 years old.
Oh, really? I'm surprised there isn't something up there that.
Well, it doesn't, like, if I search that, it's like, oh, well, here's a story about this. It's like, no, I want to know. Let's see. In the Senate, 30% of them are over 70 years old. So you've got 200 people in the Senate.
Mm-hmm.
You've got 30% that are over 70. You've got 5% that are over 80. So that's 35%. Are over 70 years old, well past retirement age for any other occupation.
Mm-hmm.
It's just,
it's, and I don't want to sit here and say the age is the all-out factor, but I would say time in the Senate is probably a factor. How long they've been a senator, right?
Chuck Grassley is 89 years old.
Yep.
Go somewhere else.
Exactly. there's another state that is full of conservatives, yet they seem to send a lot of rhinos to the House and to the Senate. So, yeah, there needs to be term limits, and this does not need to be an automatic millionaire club, which is what it is. Once more, it's a big club, and you ain't in it. But it's your money that's funding it. It's your money that is funding your labor. The toil of your labor that you send to Washington, D.C. every year is funding this mess.
Well, that and
Somali
Sesame Street
fraud
in Iraq.
Yeah. Somali fraud in Minnesota, all of this new fraud they're uncovering in California. It's across the country, and it's primarily blue states, folks. I mean, that's what it is. And where are the repercussions? What they're doing with this shutdown, it's been over a month now. What they're doing, have you seen anything going on up in Minnesota? Investigating that fraud, any of this, getting illegals out of the country? No, it's stopped everything dead in its tracks. We've got
they're
to
doing that,
support
and they're just trying to push the envelope for the midterms.
Yeah, we've got to support President Trump. We've got to win the midterms. We've got to win the House. We've got to win the Senate, and we've got to put pressure on these rhinos. And where we can, we need to take them down in primaries. We've done it. Crenshaw's gone, folks. That's a victory. We need more of those. Okay, that's how it's done. Right there in the primary, you take them down in the primary. Period. They don't go back. They don't get the privilege of representing the American people in the Senate or the House anymore.
Yeah, if you're going to abuse that position, peace out.
Yeah. So that's what we need to do. And when you call up, you be respectful when you call up, but you call up and you let them know in no uncertain terms, we're going to be pushing for somebody else if you don't get this across. It's not, I don't want to hear platitudes. I don't want to hear you're going to get it done. I don't want to hear how you support it. If you do not get this done, we got to go with someone else who can, period. Amen. So they don't want to be in power. Stu said this a million times. They don't want to be in power, right? They don't want to be in power, and they don't care if they lose the midterms. In fact, it's better for them because the people that support them, the big interest, right, want Trump gone. And if they don't win, Trump is going to be hamstringed, seriously. So we need to support Donald Trump. This is why I'm so mad when things like this with Joe Kent happened. I don't think he intended for all of this to happen. I want to believe he didn't leak. I just can't believe that. But this whole thing he did today handed a victory to the Democrats and the left. And what he wrote is completely, it's like, maybe there's some infection out there that's gotten into the brains of Tucker Carlson and maybe some of these other people that are out there just pissing and moaning about Iran. Trump said Iran will not get the capability to hit us with a missile. They will not go nuclear. He's living up to what he said. And if you follow Trump, it's been going back 40 years he's been talking about this. So if you're surprised about all of this, whatever.
All he's doing is following up on the same thing Hillary Clinton said in 2015.
Yeah, I mean, and every other president
he's carrying out the Democratic platform from 10 years ago.
Yeah, the difference between Trump and every other president in our lifetime is he's actually doing something about it, not giving lip service to this.
Yeah.
So you've got to respect him. You've got to support him, and that's all there is to it. So get on the phones to your senators and let them know I'm beating this bell. I'm stomping the floor. Let them know the SAVE Act needs to get passed, or we are going to primary their ass at the next primary, whether it's 26 in the Senate or beyond. Right?
Yep.
So, all right. Do we have anything we need to get to? Any comments?
No, we're good.
Okay.
We're good.
Well, do you have anything else you want to bring up or talk about, Stu?
Nope.
I think we hit everything.
I think so.
I think Stu and I were firing on all 7 cylinders at least tonight. Not all 8 quite, but at least 7. And we want to thank you for being here. And remember to live in freedom every day. And please, please, please educate your neighbors, educate your friends. We've got to win the midterms. Call your senators. Encourage other people to call the senators. Pass the SAVE Act. Make it happen by hook or by crook. Filibuster, whatever. It needs to happen. Period. Amen. It's unforgivable if it doesn't. That's the end of the story. So live in freedom every day. We'll see you guys next week. Stu, you have any last words?
No, sir. I'm good. We'll see you guys next Tuesday.
Good night, guys.
All right. Thanks, Troy. Thanks, Freedom. Appreciate you guys.